For the longest time, we've all thought of napping as a sign of laziness, right? Something for little kids or maybe your grandparents. But what if I told you it's actually one of the most powerful tools you have for boosting your brain and your productivity? Well, today we're going to unpack the secret science of the perfect nap.
Think about some of the most brilliant minds in history. I'm talking about people like Albert Einstein or powerful leaders like Winston Churchill. These guys were operating at an insanely high level, and believe it or not, they all shared a secret weapon that helped them stay sharp day in and day out.
And get this, their secret wasn't some complex biohack or a crazy expensive diet. Nope. It was the simple, strategic act of taking a nap. They just understood something we're only now catching up on. A short, well-timed sleep can be the ultimate reset button for your brain.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Napping is a science. If you do it wrong, you wake up feeling groggy, confused, and you can totally mess up your sleep for that night. But if you do it right, well, you unlock a whole suite of amazing cognitive benefits. So the big question is, how do we actually do this right? Let's dive in.
To really get how napping works, we first have to understand why we get tired in the first place. And it turns out there's basically a tug of war happening inside your brain all day long between two really powerful competing systems.
Okay, so on one side of the rope, you've got your homeostatic sleep drive. The easiest way to think about this is like a pressure gauge for sleepiness. From the moment you wake up in the morning, a chemical called adenosine starts building up in your brain, and the longer you're awake, the more of it you get, and the stronger that pressure to fall asleep becomes.
And on the other side of the rope, pulling against that sleep pressure, is your circadian alerting system. This is basically your body's internal 24-hour master clock. Its main job is to send out these powerful alerting signals all day long to fight back against that rising sleepiness and keep you awake, alert, and functional.
So here's where it gets really interesting when you see them side by side. The sleep drive, that's the one on the left, it's just a straight, steady climb all day long. Simple. But the circadian signal on the right, it's more like a wave. It's really strong in the morning, then it takes a little dip in the afternoon before peaking again in the early evening.
And that classic afternoon slump, that feeling where you just hit a wall after lunch? Well, it's not always about the big lunch you ate. It's this perfectly predictable moment in the afternoon when your sleep drive is climbing really high, but your alerting signal takes a temporary nosedive. For that short period, sleep pressure wins the tug of war. And that is the perfect biological window of opportunity for a nap.
Okay, so now we know why our bodies are practically begging for a nap in the afternoon, so let's get into the playbook on how to do it right. And the science on this is crystal clear. The two things that matter more than anything else are when you nap and for how long. Let's break this down, because this is super important. The sweet spot for most people most of the time is the 15 to 20-minute power nap. It's fantastic. It gives you this huge boost in alertness and focus, and the reason it works so well is that it ends before your brain enters deep sleep. Now, if you venture into that 30 to 60-minute danger zone, you're taking a huge risk. You'll likely wake up from deep, slow-wave sleep, and that's when you get that awful, groggy feeling. On the other hand, a full 90-minute nap can actually be great, especially for creativity, because it allows you to complete one full sleep cycle so you wake up from a much lighter stage of sleep. And what about timing? Well, the golden rule's pretty simple. Try to get your nap in before 3 p.m. See, napping in the early afternoon works with your body's natural dip in alertness. If you nap any later than that, you risk burning off too much of that adenosine, that sleep pressure you've been building up all day, which you actually need to fall asleep easily at night.
The benefits of a really good strategic nap go way, way beyond just feeling a little less tired. When you do it right, napping can unlock some seriously impressive cognitive superpowers. Seriously, we're talking about real tangible improvements here. Imagine you absolutely nail a big presentation because a quick nap helped you lock in all your key points. Or maybe you finally crack that tough problem you've been staring at all morning after a simple 20-minute reset. On top of that, it can improve your mood, boost your physical stamina, and even help out your immune system. It's an incredibly efficient tool.
Okay, check this out. This data comes from a fascinating study that looked at learning. They had 3 groups of students learn some pretty detailed facts. Then, one group took an hour-long nap. Another group crammed that information for an extra hour, and the third group just took a break. Now look at these results a full week later. The big takeaway here is just stunning. When it came to remembering that information a week later, the nappers blew the crammers out of the water. This just brilliantly shows that sleep isn't some passive downtime. It's an active process where your brain is working hard to file away and strengthen memories so they stick around for good. And it's not just about memory. What about creativity? The evidence here is just as compelling. In another study on creative problem solving, they found that the people who got into stage 2 sleep, or N2 sleep, which is super common in naps, were way more likely to have one of those aha moments. I mean, look at that. Almost 86% of the nappers had a creative breakthrough compared to just over half of the people who stayed awake.
We have all been there. You try to take a quick, helpful nap, and you wake up feeling 100 times worse than before you went to sleep. We call this the nap hangover. But the good news is, it is completely avoidable if you just follow a few simple rules.
So let's give that awful feeling an official name. It's called sleep inertia. It's that groggy, foggy, where am I state we were talking about. And it happens when your alarm clock brutally rips you out of the deepest stage of sleep. Your brain is literally caught between worlds, which is why you feel so out of it. The whole key to avoiding this is to wake up before you ever get that deep.
So let's put it all together. Here is your 4-step playbook for the perfect nap. Number 1, keep it short. 15 to 20 minutes is your target. Number 2, keep it early, before 3 p.m. 3, create a little sleep sanctuary for yourself. Dark, quiet, and cool is what you're aiming for. And number 4, and this is maybe the most important, always set an alarm. This is your safety net to make sure you don't drift into that deep sleep we want to avoid.
Okay, one really important thing to mention here. While a strategic nap is amazing, if you feel an overwhelming, constant need to nap every single day, no matter how much you sleep at night, that could be a sign of an underlying sleep disorder. If that sounds like you, it's probably a good idea to chat with a doctor.
So, to sum it all up, the scientific evidence is just overwhelming. A strategic nap isn't a luxury, and it's definitely not a sign of weakness. It's a scientifically proven tool for improving pretty much every part of your daily performance.
So here's the bottom line. It's time to completely change how we think about this. Napping isn't about giving in to being tired. It's about proactively managing your energy and your brain function. It's a deliberate skill that the highest performers in the world use to their advantage.
So, the next time you feel that afternoon slump coming on, don't just automatically reach for another cup of coffee. Instead, maybe ask yourself this: what creative insight, what memory boost, or what incredible burst of energy is just waiting for you on the other side of a quick 20-minute power nap?